people around here, when the first thing they say is, oh my gosh, it's unaffordable. We got to leave. We got to go somewhere else that's affordable. And it's like, good luck. If you want somewhere affordable, it's not going to be cool. It's not going to be somewhere fun or hip or, whatever. If you want affordable, you're going to end up somewhere not like this for sure.
Yeah. Okay, welcome everybody to the National Real Estate News with the Wise Agent Society. We have a very special guest today, a repeat guest. His name is Tim Murray. He is with the Super Agent Collaborative, all part of my big family at EXP, and he is in Denver, Colorado. Today we're going to be talking about the Denver market and the temperature on that and the ins and outs. And I tried to do this a while back and I did a terrible job. So we decided to bring in an expert. I'm not going to do that anymore. We'll bring in people that know areas and stuff way more than I do, so we can get a better pulse on the market, if you will. So thank you so much for coming, Tim. How are you today?
I'm excellent, Shay. Thanks for having me, man. Always a pleasure to be on here with you.
Yeah, thanks, man. This is cool. You're my first regular, just so you know.
I like it. Repeat business is good business.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we were just talking a little bit about, and we also have Diane Schell with us and Tara, the backup, people that make our lives go. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, Diane's my COO, and I wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning if I wasn't motivated by her getting all the shit done in the background.
Same. We need the people that babysit and organize our brains kind of on the back end for us to do the stuff we can do, right?
Amen.
Yeah, so anyway, we were just talking a bit about, we're going to get into data and stuff. Tim has a lot of cool data that we're going to pull up, and he'll screen share that with us about Denver and the market. But we were just talking about Denver and kind of what makes it tick. So we should go over that a little bit more. I was talking about how the marijuana industry, I had imagined to boost the economy and maybe the real estate sales and all that stuff. And I don't remember what year that happened, but I was wondering if it was like 10 years ago or what. But then you had a bunch of good points of it wasn't just that, and maybe that was a factor, but that there are all these other industries there, and then also the recreational stuff. So maybe repeat what you said about which companies are there and what other factors were helping Denver to blow up.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there was a really common, I think it's a misconception that in 2012, Colorado was one of the first states to go fully legal. They were the first state to go recreationally legal with marijuana. And, the national news was like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to flock to Denver because it's where all the cool kids are, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I honestly don't think that played a role in where the Denver market's been for the last 10 plus years. And when we talk about where the Denver market's been for the last 10 years, we've got to realize that year on year, starting really with the recession. So coming out 2008, 2009, we started to see 1,000 people per week migrating to Denver. 60,000 people a year coming to Denver. And I can tell you wholeheartedly that there's not 1,000 people a week coming here to smoke weed.
Yeah, right.
They're coming here. They're coming here because Colorado's just awesome, and everybody knows it's awesome. We 300 days a year of sunshine. From the Denver metro area up to the 7 world-class ski resorts that we have is about an hour away. You just don't get that in any other major metropolitan area in the United States. You don't, right?
Amazing weather.
Yeah, weather's cool. Recreational opportunities are off the Richter. And then when we look at some of the national demographics of like affordability and where corporations want to move and relocate their companies, because everybody, again, in the last 10 years, and even prior to COVID, there was a huge movement nationally for employees wanting to have a lifestyle and be in a cool place that was also affordable. So when we look at like the mass exodus from California or Silicon Valley, the San Francisco Bay Area, all that stuff, it was a natural pick for a lot of the tech companies to come here and relocate here. We've always had a huge tech, Lockheed Martin, huge. I mean, they employ 100,000 plus people here in Denver. And so,
Okay, cool.
And I tell you what, none of those people are smoking weed.
Yeah. No, and I think when I'm talking about the weed thing that's just such a progressive, cool government thing to do. It's smart, so I think people see, hey, look, Denver is being smart. The people in charge there, the government, are doing smart, good things for the economy and for, bigger picture stuff. That's why I did it. And I don't get me wrong, smoke weed's fine, but when I wanted to move there because of it, it wasn't so I could go smoke weed. It was so I could be a part of a place that is smart enough to make good decisions to make that kind of tax money come in and apply it to whatever. It's just silly that places don't do it. You know what I mean? Right. So that, along with the tech. So you said Lockheed Martin. Was there a couple other companies that you had mentioned?
I think, I had mentioned SpaceX, but SpaceX, like their ancillary stuff. I mean, we've seen the explosion of the Space Force. That whole branch of government is based in Colorado Springs here, just south of that.
Barry was telling me that. Barry Overton.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool.
So all the youngsters out there, anybody that's watching this and has kids that are, gaming all day long and can never leave their computer screen, sign them up for Space Force, man, because that's exactly what those guys are doing. And they're making a lot of money and changing the future of our nation and our national security.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool that we have a Space Force. It almost sounds like it's out of a movie, right?
It totally does. It's crazy. It's a craziest thing.
I love it, though. And that's the cool thing. All that stuff, when I think of Denver, is what I think about. That it's a progressive, cool place. Especially, of course, with the weather and the outdoor stuff. I mean, everybody knows that. It's beautiful nature and hiking and skiing and all that stuff, which, I mean, yeah. But then it is also this haven for people to go and build things and businesses and grow. And the economy, there's like so much to do and diversity in Denver, which I love as well. So that's freaking hotspot to be, which we know that. Now, you were saying, maybe real quick transition into what you were saying about that people the population might be going the other way slightly right now since, what did you say?
In the last 6 months. So like this calendar year is the first time that we've seen the demographic data that comes out and says, wow, people are actually moving away from Denver, right? So it used to be, we would see 60,000 people move here every single year. And then on the attrition side, we would see, I think mortality was the number one thing, where like 30,000 people a year would die in the whole state. Oh. And it's like, okay, well, they didn't move away.
Right.
It frees up some inventory and it takes out, it helps us out in the real estate market when that happens. And this is the first year, and I don't recall the most recent statistics other than that kind of shocker headliner of, wow, people are actually leaving here. And, why? Well, it's gotten expensive. I mean,
affordability.
Yeah.
In a lot of big cities. It's not just Denver, but it's just showing that's affecting Denver too. And
100%.
High, and so now it's making the shift, which is interesting, right? Because during the pandemic, everybody wanted to move to these places to have more space and more freedom of like that. Because if you're quarantined, you can't be around people, then people wanted, and you're locked into the place if you live. Well, they're like, well, I want out of the city, out of my condo or my townhouse. I want a house. Or people that maybe had houses and stuff were like, well, I want an acreage and I want to live so everybody was looking for more space. And Denver has some spots with totally lots of space. In all the cool cities, I think all that kind of got all up. And then now people are like running out of affordability options and inventory, obviously, right?
Yeah. And that's what the conversation that I have with, people around here when the first thing they say is, oh my gosh, it's unaffordable. We got to leave. We got to go somewhere else that's affordable. And it's like, good luck. Like if you want somewhere affordable, it's not going to be cool. It's not going to be somewhere fun or hip or, whatever. You're not going to be able to go hiking with your dog every morning on out in nature and see wildflowers. If you want affordable, you're going to end up somewhere not like this for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely different, and it might not be cool in some ways or for some people, but affordability kind of brings some coolness to places, right? So if you have a more disposable income, and then you can maybe go out to dining more, or go out to or travel more, or you can do this or that more, because you could go to Ohio is really affordable type place still right now, maybe Michigan. Depending on where, every place has its really expensive stuff, but generally, and even Pennsylvania, so there's spots like that. Now they have winter, right? So that puts the kibosh on you doing stuff all year round. Although I love winter, I'm actually more of a winter fan than a summer fan. I like going out in the snow. And, I mean, -30 kind of sucks. I'm not going to say I don't think anybody's going to say they love that, but I love it when there's a crazy storm and I got to go out on my little tractor and plow my driveway and it's freezing cold. Like I remember when I just moved back to Iowa, I was doing it and I was like, I don't need to put on my snow pants. So I'm out there on this tractor. The dang chains came off the stinking tires. It's just spinning. I had to sit out there and put the chains back on in the -30 degrees. Get back on it, and then it's like kind of stuck. The chain spun off again. And next thing you know, my thighs were chapped from the wind. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going inside. And I had to go inside, warm back up, and it was a fiasco. But anyway, I love it. Not everybody loves that. I like it. But anyway, but you're right. So to get affordability, you're gonna have to move to a place with different things, and weather is probably a big factor in that. I think places that are more temperate are the ones that are really blowing up.
Yeah, and we've always had that, and it's like I said, 300 days a year of sunshine. I've been here. I've lived here for almost 25 years, and if it gets below zero, maybe with wind chill a few days a year. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, getting up around 100 degrees, maybe a few days a year. Yeah. But, Denver's always awesome because it's just like, yeah, we get snow and then the sun comes out within a day and melts it all off and it's just gone. And where it sticks is where it counts, which is up in the mountains. I ski 60 days a year. And I'm not dealing with a tractor or a snow plow or any of that shit. I've got one snow shovel and I'm good to go.
That's awesome. It ends up being the snow shovel because the dang plow won't work anyway. For my kids, I don't even do it. I make them do the shoveling. But the funny thing is, it's like arid there, right? It's like kind of like high desert-ish.
It is. It is. Yeah, it's super dry. Yeah, super dry here. And I think that's it.
As I say, that's like Salt Lake City, same thing. It's high desert, same with like kind of Bend, Oregon, same thing. Yeah, there's these high desert places are like that. They're pretty temperate through the air, and then you go to the mountains and enjoy all the snow.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like even on some of your personal posts, I think you just went to the Iowa State Fair, and you were like, oh yeah, it wasn't so humid, and I'm like, humidity, like what?
Yeah.
That would, for me personally, that goes into a moving matrix of like, would I relocate anywhere, and like, why would I do it, and why wouldn't I do it? Yeah. And I think like humidity and mosquitoes are like the two things that I would put in the top three of like, no way in hell, there's no way. I mean, we would knock out. I mean, pretty much everything east of the Kansas borders, knock it out. I'm not going there. I don't got no desire to live anywhere where there's humidity or mosquitoes. And we really don't have either here.
Those are my least favorite things about Iowa. I will promise you that. But at the same time, with all that humidity and stuff, it's kind of like a greenhouse. So everything here is bright green. Everything grows here. So there's some pros and cons, but I agree. I am not a fan of the humidity. That being said, today is going to be like 112 heat index with the humidity. It's a high of 10. What is it, Tara? 103 today or something, or whatever. But with heat index, 103 or 104, and then with heat index, it'll probably be more like 115. It's
Oof.
crazy. It's like you go outside and it takes your breath away. It's so
You're not
gross.
you're not selling me on Iowa, bro.
Well, there's only a couple days of the year that are like that, but we're in them right now. So hopefully everybody's ACs are working. So with all that said, I think that Denver is a really cool place and a pretty place, and it just has so much going on, and I think it always will. But let's talk about some data. Are you ready to spit some housing data and real estate data?
Yeah, let me see if I can
Do a
share
screen
some
share.
stuff here.
Really?
So here in Denver, we are fortunate enough that one of our title reps, I don't know, there we go. So yeah, Megan Aller with First American. So every week, a matter of fact, right now, they're like the same time frame that we're doing this interview. Megan's
Yeah.
doing her weekly market update, and she compiles the coolest data. She uses over 50 different data points. And here's this is month in July is what this is from. And what we're looking at is the big oversight takeaways is we've got a population in the Denver metro area, all the areas combined, of almost 3 million. We're at 2.8 million people.
Wow.
And in the
That's
height,
the county? What's the county called?
well, there's Denver County, Arapahoe County, Jefferson County. There's actual
So,
six different areas that all combine to make the Denver metro.
okay, and then that's the 3 million.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, San Diego County is massive. The counties in California are just huge. And it all fits in San Diego County, and that's 3 million as well. So that's just cool.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good perspective for people.
Yep.
And then I think like the other big perspective builder, when we were at the height of the recession, 2008, in Denver, we had about 33,000 homes for sale.
Okay.
Today, there's 4,800.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
4,800 for the month. Or
yeah.
What is the supply? What do you call it? How many days of supply?
Yeah, the great question. So when we look, here's this chart.
4,800 days of supply.
So this chart right here breaks down by price bucket.
Yep.
And this is months of inventory, right? Yep. And so we know that about 3 months is probably 3 to 6 months would be balanced depending on what market you're in. And we're way below that unless you're shopping in that $1.5 to $2 million range. Apparently those houses are sitting around a little bit. And
I like that. That's the opportunity there.
Yeah, there's the opportunity zone for sure. And it's interesting, I've flipped a bunch of houses. I'm sure you've flipped a bunch of houses in your career. And for your average flipper or anybody that's out there looking at this and you want to give me a call and you've got hard money and somebody's going to give you, 1.5 mil for an investment property and your holding costs and all that other stuff, that's a lot to bite off. Yep. And I can tell you,
game to play, but it looks like it's a lucrative game.
It is lucrative. Yeah, we had here in my neighborhood, we just had a flip that was purchased at 3.75 and was off market doing renovations for almost a year. They just put it back on at 5.75.
Yep, 3.75. So $2 million spread. Maybe they put in 700,000 or something. They're gonna make $1 million probably on it.
Yeah, right. So again, for all the flippers out there, if you want to come check out the Denver market and you've got this kind of cash to play with, having a 7-figure profit margin, ARV of 6 mil, kind of a fun game to play.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, the regular folks that are just trying to buy a house, us normal folks, they're having a hard time right here. You can see the inventory is super duper low. And my guess would be that it's very competitive in that well, I don't even know. Are you really seeing stuff in the 2 to 400 range? Probably 400 range is the bottom for single families, right? Or what is it? What is the average?
Single families are coming in right at about 400. So that stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's below that is all attached condos and townhomes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, right? I mean,
Right.
when you're a first time home buyer or you're starting your family and you're like, heck yeah, I love Denver, but I hate paying rent. I want to go buy a house. And you're like, okay, well, here's your 7.25% interest rate, and you're pre-approved for $375,000, and your monthly payments a bunch. Now let's go shopping. Well, the problem is that any property in that range is going to have multiple offers, and it's going to get bid up, and it's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, and like cool things that people are doing are like rate buy downs, getting sellers to pay rate buy downs, and that's if you want to gamble that the rate will go down, hopefully in the next 3 years or so, depending if you do a 3-1, 3-2-1, 2-1, whatever buy down you do.
Yeah.
And for those who don't maybe know what that is, that's when the seller gives a credit to the buyer in an interest rate buy down, and then it's like the first year it goes down. 3%, and then second year 2%, third year 1%, depending on which structure of buy down you do, and then you're at your regular deal. But that could cost $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to buy that down from the seller. So when they're doing their note sheet on what they're going to gain at the end of it, that all factors into what they can and will do. And then you got to figure out the math of, sometimes it's not the best to do a 3-2-1 buy down. Sometimes it's better to do a 2-1 buy down for how much the money costs. So there's a whole bunch to that, but talk to your realtor. Like Tim would know how to calculate all that, and us in our markets and everything to figure out what's the best way to do that. But that's one way to get the rate down.
Yeah, the other thing that's becoming increasingly more popular is to look for deals that already have FHA financing and do an assumable loan.
I've heard that people have been talking about assumable loans lately.
Yeah,
so tell people kind of how that works.
Yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing. It's always been available, but we've never had the need for it, and so they kind of just dusted it off. And the deal is this: like anybody that has a Freddie or Fannie mortgage, typically you need to check with your lender on this when you're negotiating the deal. So if you come in as the buyer, you need to say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, what kind of loan do you currently have, and who's carrying your loan?" And can we call your lender or your banker and have a conversation that says, hey, look, man, not only do I want to buy your house, but most importantly, I want to buy your loan, because you probably have an interest rate of 2.7 or 3.2 or something significantly lower than even the 3-2-1 buy down stuff can touch. And so then you take over their mortgage payments for them is what you do in essence. And that's going to save you, thousands of dollars every month if you can get that situation set up. So it's worth it. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, heck yeah, man, that interest rate stuff scares the crap out of me. Don't be scared. Be creative. Get a good real estate agent that knows the ins and outs of getting you what you want at the rate you want.
Yep. Yeah. So that's another great option. And the other thing to keep in mind with that is their loan only might be up to, let's say if it's a $700,000 house, their loan might only be $500,000. So maybe you could assume that $500,000, but the next $200,000 you're going to have at a different rate or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how that pans out, but no, there are factors.
Yeah, it's possible. It's totally possible. Don't light your hair on fire because the news cycle tells you to. There's creative plans all over the place.
Rates go up, rates go down. So that's 100% going to happen. We don't know when or how much or what. They're not getting back in the twos, folks. Just don't be waiting for that, because it's never going to happen again. And I never say never, but I mean it would be shocking if it ever got in the twos again. I mean, I just maybe 15, 20, 30 years down the road it might. But for the foreseeable future, no way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then I just kind of moved the screen around a little bit because I think this particular slide has a ton of data on it. And I think that the things that stick out to me on here is active, right? What's active right now last month in July, 4,200 houses. It's down. It's down over last year. You know what? I think the other thing that really sticks out to me on here is when we look at median and average
14%, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. 14% down in active inventory.
Yeah, huge, right?
Not
And
for
so
the month it's up, but
so everybody, that's what's been driving the Denver market for the last decade is very simply supply and demand. When there's nothing for sale, prices go up. I don't know why people can't wrap their heads around that, but if you go to the grocery store and there's only 2 loaves of bread, the grocery store can mark it up.
Yeah.
Right?
People are thinking, oh, it's a bubble or something like that. And it's like, no, there's literally the builders during the last recession stopped building. Like they were scared to get stuck with inventory again. So now they've limited inventory. They only buy if you've put a deposit down, stuff like that. Yeah. And seriously, that's a nationwide problem. And I don't know the numbers as good as like my friend Aaron Gordon or other people. But it's like, I'm not kidding you, they could triple production for 5 years straight and they'll never touch what is needed in available buyers, even with interest rates the way they are. Millennials and such are such a huge group that can buy. They just don't have houses to buy. And then you got everybody else too that wants to buy a house and they can't. And then you got people that are stuck in their low interest rates and won't sell because they don't want to go move to a higher interest rate.
Yeah.
So what a weird mix we got right now, right?
Yeah, it's intriguing. I had a conversation the other day in a waiting room at my chiropractor's office, and this fella says, "Oh, I'm waiting. The bubble's got to burst." Yeah. And I was like, "No, man, there's no bubble. Like the only thing that's going to get prices to come down, or if there's any kind of reset here in Denver." Is and this might sound a little morbid, but it's the truth. Is the baby boomers. When our parents and our grandparents start dying, there's going to be inventory.
Yep, and that's a huge group. You're right. So huge, and that's happening. And that's also why being in a medical. That stuff like that really drives the economy. People don't think about it a lot. Yeah, that's why being in the medical field right now is so lucrative too, and elderly care and all that stuff. Because that baby boomers, are they still bigger? I don't know. Are they bigger than the millennial group? Is the millennial group bigger?
I think that the baby boomers are the largest demographic. I read this was a couple months ago, and I don't. It's a killer statistic. I'd have to dig it up. I don't know where I saw it, but over the next 15 years, there's going to be the largest shift in generational wealth in the history of the United States, and it's to the tune of $56 trillion. Right?
Wow.
Trillion.
And that's the baby boomers moving down to Gen X and millennials, I suppose.
Exactly. So again, when we have a conversation, and I know the media and everybody else likes to talk about like the bubble's going to burst or there needs to be an adjustment or whatever. And the reality is that over the next 15 years, we're going to see that whole generation disappear.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans are going to pass away, and their assets are going to be passed down to their heirs or put on the market and sold to somebody else or whatever. And the reality is that's not an acute one-time event. It's not an economic collapse. It's this slow, long-term thing. So like, to my point, like the fella I was talking to last week in the waiting room, he said, there's going to be this adjustment or it's going to burst or whatever. And I'm like, no, man, sometime in the next 10 or 15 years, there'll be more inventory. And at the same rate that generation is disappearing, we still have, basic economics are still taking place in America, right? There's still going to be high interest rates. There's still going to be high appreciation. There's still going to be high inflation. So it's like you're you're waiting for this event to take place where all of a sudden a house is affordable, but in the background, that affordability is still just out of reach. So you might as well pull the trigger now, man, and ride the wave.
Yeah, and then here is the thing too that people don't realize is right now with the interest rates being higher than they were, which historically they are not higher, they are right on par in the last whatever 50 years or so. But anyway, is that if interest rates lower drastically, that's going to create a feeding frenzy that the prices will skyrocket on houses because then you're going to have even more demand. Because people are sitting on the fence right now when they get off the fence because they're waiting for the rate to drop. So the smart people are getting in front of that. Smart people are buying stuff right now. Unless you're thinking there's going to be a big recession. Well, in that case, liquefy assets and have those sitting around. That's not a bad idea either. It depends on what you think is going to happen. If we're going to have a big meltdown, you think, globally or something, it could happen. But I would still prefer to buy right now.
Yeah, and it's curious when people are like, oh, yeah, well, there's going to be a global economic recession or collapse or whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool, man. So does that mean everybody becomes homeless?
Yeah,
no,
right.
No.
Still need to live somewhere.
Yeah, man, you still need a roof over your head. And then the other thing, like here in Denver that we saw, I mean, we've got the data from 2008 and we've got, like Megan Aller has, we've got all these super kick-ass data points. Like, here's a map of the 6-county area. This is the Denver Metro, right? And it shows you what's hot and what's not. And
can you point out a couple areas of what's what there?
Yeah, so here's what I can tell you. I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen right here. This orange mark right in the middle. Is a place called Washington Park. And, like most major metro areas, Denver has, Denver Central Park and Denver, it's where the zoo is in the the museums and the botanical gardens. And that's an okay part of town. Not awesome, but it's okay. Washington Park, south of downtown. And it's always been the go-to hip spot. Like if you say you live in Wash Park, everybody knows you're cool. And they've known that for 5 decades. Well, right.
I've never even heard of it.
Right. You've never heard of it. Most people that don't live here have never heard of it.
Sure. What is that compared to like Cherry Creek? Cherry Creek?
Yeah, it's 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away from Cherry Creek.
So similar but different?
Well, similar in real, the real estate price is a little bit lower. I mean, and just for those of you that aren't familiar with what we're talking about, Cherry Creek here in Denver is a pretty exclusive place. I would say the median house price in Cherry Creek is probably north of $2 million.
Yeah,
you go down the street to Wash Park, and on the east side of the park, and Wash Park is a huge park. Huge. I mean, it's 5 blocks long and 2 blocks wide, and it's a big ass park in the middle of town. And on the east side of Wash Park, houses are selling north of 1.52 million. On the west side of Wash Park, you can still get in for right around $1 million, right?
Oh, okay.
And my point is this, Shay, that during the recession in 2008, where the national price adjustment was somewhere around 40%, Wash Park was 17.
Nice.
Right.
So desirable places don't get hit as hard as
desirable place. Yeah. So again, the point is this: anybody that's sitting out there, listening to the news and saying like, "Oh my God, we're all doomed. It's the end of the world. There's going to be some economic crash, or Putin's going to blow up China and China's going to blow up Hawaii, or whatever the hell they're thinking." If you're sitting in West Wash Park, it does not matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah, no, I get that. That's smart. That's a good way to think about it. Depending on where you're buying and what you're doing, and you know what though? I mean, the long and short of it is that you're paying a mortgage one way or another. So if you're renting a place, you're paying your landlord's mortgage. So why don't you just pay for your own mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So, no matter what, just like you said, even if there's a giant recession, people need a place to live. So why not buy investment properties now? And if there is a recession, then guess what? You get renters. They
Yeah.
have to rent. Maybe they can't afford to buy. There's no bad. There's no bad unless you can't qualify or you're over leverage. There's no bad to buying properties, you know. So most wealthy people, partially at least, if not majorly in the end, got there through real estate.
Yeah, amen. I think the other thing that I like to talk about too, that a lot of people don't understand about recessions or economic adjustments or whatever, is typically based on what happens to the stock market, right? If there's a global event or there's some uneasiness or unsteadiness economically, stock market goes down. What that really means is that wealthy people get scared and they pull their money out of the market, which means that they're sitting on even more cash. And wealthy people don't become wealthy by having a huge amount of money in their savings account. They have it in their assets, and their assets, that's synonymous to real estate people. You got to own property. That's how you become wealthy.
Exactly right. You know, buy appreciating assets, not cars, not cars. You know what? Rolexes aren't a bad investment. Rolexes are beating the stock market and real estate. That's funny.
That is
high-end watches. But anyway, all great points. Why don't we fly through some of the stats, that you like here in that whatever sheet you want there, and we'll just kind of have an idea of. And then if do you have anything like kind of area by area, or can you at least just talk about it? Maybe go through whatever data you want, and then I think people like to know about different areas in a neighborhood and what it does and what.
Yeah, so this is a cool one. If you're shopping in the Denver area, lost it. Hold on, where'd it go?
Okay. I like First American Title, by the way. It's a good company.
So here's one that I like. So this is a balanced market one. I think there's an even better map. There we go. Odds of selling. Let's go down here. There you go. Zip codes in the red are most competitive for buyers looking to purchase. There's a correlation with lower priced homes having a higher amount of demand and increased odds of selling, right? So we touched on that earlier, right? That the stuff under $400,000 here in Denver is usually the attached. So those are condos and townhomes. It's the most competitive segment of the market, right? But when we look at what's going on in, zip codes, we can see where the hot parts of town are, like what's affordable, what's not affordable, what's going to be competitive, what's not going to be competitive. So one of the things that I like when I look at this is up here in the Northwest, there's this big green spot. And right. So this is called the Aurora Highlands. It's all brand new construction. And if you've ever flown in an airplane into Denver, DIA is right here.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like going from there into town is quite a drive, even.
It is. Yeah, it's a 30+ minute drive depending on where you're going. But I mean, to get from the airport to downtown is about 30 minutes.
Yeah, that gives you perspective on the radius of the city too.
It's big.
Probably 60 minutes or so to get from one end to the other.
Oh yeah, easily for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so again, for those of you that aren't familiar with Denver, I-25 is basically a north-south corridor. And then anybody who's driven cross country has probably driven an I-70, which goes right straight through the middle here. And downtown Denver is basically at the intersection of I-25 and I-70.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what else? You got Aurora Highlands. Is that what's the price range roughly there? And
so brand new construction out there is starting at like $450 and going up into the mid $7s.
That's for like a 3-2, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Those are 3-2 for $450. With an attached 2-car garage and an unfinished basement.
Okay, they have basements there.
That's a smoking deal. I mean, again, Like I know earlier we talked about flippers, and if you want to go big and buy something for 1.5 mil and try to flip it for 3, there's good money to be made. If you want a really solid investment in Denver, I would introduce you to my new home builders out here in the Royal Highlands, out in this northeast section of town. And I would say, you know what? Is moving into brand new construction a normal play for an investor? Probably not. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
They do it like crazy.
Yeah. And here it makes a ton of sense right now. A ton of sense. Mm-hmm. And again, when we're talking about creative ways to beat that high interest rate, a lot of these not first time, but these home builders have their own in-house mortgage departments, and they'll give you, a 4% rate. You just got to ask for it.
It's smart. You know what? What's the square footage roughly on those 3.2s roughly?
Oh gosh.
2,000 square feet?
Yeah, probably a little bit less, like 1,700.
Okay. And what was I going to say about that too? They have basements. That's cool. Can you finish the basements and then add square footage?
100%. Right. So you're buying sweat equity right away, even in new construction, where you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to come in here and, put 2 more bedrooms and a bathroom in the basement. And then my property value just went up, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000.
Yeah. I love that. That's cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Maybe, we got probably around 10 minutes or so left. Do you want to pick out a few more areas of town and just tell us kind of like that, just like you did, like what are houses costing there? What's cool about the area, and what are the sizes and all that?
Yeah. So like on this map, when we're looking so we just looked at this green area that's not that competitive. And maybe one of the things just looking at this visually that you'll notice that it pops out to me, because this is how I think. So I live down here in the southwest part of town.
Okay.
And these areas,
Golden something?
Yeah, Golden is in this area. I'm about 10 minutes away from Golden. So the foothills are right here, right? This is where the foothills, everybody who's ever gone to a show at Red Rocks, which I would highly recommend, right here on the west side of town. It's about 10 minutes from my house.
I have not been yet, but I would like to.
Yeah, put it on the bucket list. It's killer. Best venue ever for live music.
I've heard.
But I think like the way my mind works is the only reason anybody should ever move to Denver is access to the mountains. And that means living on the west side. So when we look at affordability and we realize that these red areas are theoretically the cheapest and most competitive places to buy in town. And right here, this is all Jefferson County and Lakewood area. There's a lot of entry level inventory. So all of those condos and townhomes that are less than $300,000 are over here.
What is that roughly? 2-1?
Yeah, those are 1-1s, 2-1s. You can get, right down the street from where I live is some of the cheapest real estate in all of Denver. So you could still get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo with a dedicated parking place, maybe a carport if you're lucky, for less than $200,000.
Okay. It's like good deal. What about HOAs on those roughly? $200 a month?
Yeah, HOAs are probably running like on those specific. I know they're $260 a month.
$260 a month. HOA. Do you happen to know what those would rent for?
Yeah, those are going to rent for, it's a negative proposition, but you could rent a 1-1 over there for maybe $1,600.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about those houses in Aurora Highlands? Do you know what those would rent for?
Yeah, so a general rule of thumb out here would be like $700 a room, $700 a door per bedroom ish.
Okay.
So, in a 3-2, you'd be at somewhere between $2,100 and $3,000, depending on improvements. Mm-hmm. So that the Aurora Highlands model for me is like, okay, you're gonna, depending on financing, depending on how much cash you bring to the table, you might be break even on month to month cash flow. You might be positive, $50 or something like that.
Sure.
What you're stepping into is an equity position that's just going to be killer. I mean, you're looking at, minimum 6% and probably closer to a double-digit return on equity every single year, right? So you walk into, say, a $500,000 brand new construction, right? And so again, you investors that are out there, it's brand new construction. So you can skimp on your deferred maintenance fund and put more cash in your pocket every month. And you're going to see, I'm going to say, a minimum 9% and probably more realistically closer to 12 or 13% return on an equity position. So, run the numbers. That's $50,000 to $60,000 a year you're making in your sleep in an equity position, right? That's where the winner is. When we come back over here into the cheaper stuff on the west side of town, and we're talking about those 1-1s and those 2-1s, 5 years ago, prior to COVID, that same 1-1 that I would sell you today for $175 was $75,000. It went up $100,000 in the last 4 years.
Everything went crazy in the last 2 years. Yeah. What about the north east? Is that I'm sorry, northwest? Is the northwest?
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff over here. So this is on your way to Boulder. Boulder's up here, like super expensive, very hip place. CU Boulder. Everybody's talking about Prime coaching up there these days. All this area is blown up as well, like super developed. Louisville, the whole 36 corridor up here is blown up. I know
what
that
other little neighborhoods. Louisville. What else you got up there?
Arvada, Westminster. Arvada is super popular. That's right here in this area. Very, very popular. And again, competitive, right? Super competitive. Yeah. So those are all, and again, you're on the west side, super good access. Any of these neighborhoods over here, you're talking about 45 minutes to the ski hill. Right.
How much, so like for, let's say Westminster, do you know how much a house would be there roughly and how big it is?
Yeah. So I think this Westminster area up in here, your entry level products there are going to be in the fours.
Okay.
And going to go
but that's
up.
For condos. What about single family?
Yeah, those are all single family starting in the fours there and going up. Like I would say high fours, probably like 460 plus.
Okay. But they'll probably be older houses. They're not brand new.
Correct.
Still cool, potentially.
Yeah, those are all houses that are built in the 60s, maybe even the 50s.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I know exactly what those look like. Well, is there a lot of mid-modern there, or is it more craftsman-y because it's mountains?
Yeah, a little more craftsman-y. There's some, it just kind of goes block to block on the mid-modern stuff.
Okay. Cool. I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, we got a few more minutes. Anything else you want to point out real quick, data-wise or about the Denver market?
I think the only other thing, and this is probably similar across most markets, but I'll just throw it out there. The buying season is now. If you're looking to buy, we've seen because all the families go back to school right now. Yes. A lot of people that wanted to relocate their families and get them adjusted and situated prior to the school year starting, all of those people have disappeared from the market.
Yep.
Right. So
that's where I'm getting this kind of potentially crazy deal right today. I don't know if it's going to work out, but it's like, I only offered because I don't want it. And then I do want it, but I don't want it. I only want it for a really low price because it's going to be work. It's going to be really lucrative, and it's just like, now's the time, man. Winter's about to hit in places, especially. And then, like you said, school and all that, just stuff slows down a little bit.
Yeah, stuff slows down. And as we move into the fall, we're going to see We're not going to see more inventory. We're just going to see less competition. And that's a big deal. When you identify a property you want to buy and you know that you can take your time with the seller and work out the parameters and you don't have 10 other people, competing against you, that's a really good time. It's a great time. And that we're going to see that, all the way through the rest of the year. And then seasonality here is crazy. What's predictable and what, Megan Aller, I don't know if she's got it. Well, here we go. Let's see. When we look at showing data, April, May, June goes through the roof. And that's where, again, it's going to be super competitive. So if you want to list your house with me here in Denver, let's set it up to get on the market April 21st. We have the highest success, highest bidding wars, highest prices, April 21. Done. It's proven every year. If you want to buy a house here in Denver, call me. Let's get you lined up with a mortgage guy now. Now is the time to start shopping. If you're an investor, now is the time to start shopping. I've got a huge investor portfolio. There's more flippers coming into the market here in Denver now because we know that a lot of the low-hanging fruit, people that got in and got over-leveraged during COVID, now they're starting to feel that pain and they need to unload their properties. They need to get out from under them. And it's the fall season, so we're seeing not a lot of deals. Just they're coming, they're here. So let's purchase now.
Yeah, if there's a reason some place has been sitting for the summer or whatever, and then now we're going into the fall or winter, I'm just like, now. Now I'll talk to them. I didn't care about before. I'm like, yeah, they're reasonable. They're hanging out. But keep an eye on stuff and then strike when it makes sense, when you can really capitalize on an opportunity. We're coming into that season right now, just like you said.
Yeah. And I think one of the other big data points I can bring up on here is when we go back up and look at this one, median days on market 9.
Yes. Okay.
Right? So when we're looking for deals, anything that's been sitting on the market for more than 9 days, it's like, hey, that seller's getting a little desperate after 1 week.
Potentially. Yeah. I like to look at the purchase price, what they bought it for, what they have left on a mortgage, all that, to see, how much room they have to move. If they were like FHA or VA or something, mortgage a year ago and, whatever, you probably can't beat them up too much or get, the opportunity isn't there to get because they can't.
Right.
But if they bought it 7 years ago or 10 years ago or something, they're sitting on a pile of equity, well, they might have more incentive to negotiate,
Yeah, for sure.
Stuff like that. All that stuff. Well, cool. Well, I think that's all we have for time today. But I really appreciate you coming on, Tim. As always, great to talk with you. And thanks for sharing all of your insight on the Denver market and the area, because I find all that stuff interesting. I like looking at markets in everywhere. I don't even care if it's a big market, small market, wherever. It's really interesting. And I think the people out there are really interested in checking out, especially major cities and stuff, and seeing how it ticks and what's it like to do there. And maybe there is an investor that wants to purchase there, or like I said, just people might want to move there. People are always dreaming about moving somewhere,
Yeah, amen.
So
for sure. And I think just a plug for my personal neighborhood, Pinehurst Estates, Pinehurst Country Club. We've seen activity pick up here just starting in July. Like there was nothing for sale here the entire first half of the year. And just in the last week, 5 new properties have come on the market here. And it's curious to me that of those 5, 3 of them need a lot of rehab. And it's curious to see agents that are listing. They've listed them according to their guesstimate on the rehab price. And so it's like, okay, somebody's got to come in here and they want to make it their primary residence, and they want to invest, 75 or 80K into getting the kitchen updated and the bathrooms updated. And they're going to go through that whole process. And it's curious because, again, like I'd mentioned, all the investors and the flippers, I just put a deal under contract here. It came on the market at 500, and the ARV on it after repair value is 755. So there's $250,000 sitting on the table. And I put one of my investors in there. Slam dunk. Everybody wins, right? Whereas some of these other listings, it's really curious because it's like it's not appealing to an investor because there's no spread,
Right.
and it's probably not appealing to most buyers because they got to come in and do work.
I look for the ones that need work. That's all I look for. I look for the ones people don't want.
Right.
In San Diego, it's funny. You just go around all these old neighborhoods and look for ones with original garage doors, like the spring-loaded wooden one-piece door. I want all of those, every one of them, because the garage door is one of the first things that people do when they rehab a house, or when they update a house throughout their lives. That's an easy one. So if they haven't done that, then I bet you they haven't done anything else to the inside of the house, which is what I want.
Yeah. Amen. Rock and roll.
All right, buddy.
I haven't seen a garage door like that around here in Denver in ages.
They're everywhere in San Diego, and in the best neighborhoods.
That's
so those
funny.
are the ones you just drive around, look for that, and just pull up tax record, give them a call, whatever. It's like, or just watch them, or it's easy. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really enjoyed having you. Look forward to having you on again sometime soon, if you will.
Yeah, I'd love it, man. Yeah, for sure. And anybody interested in Denver market, man, hit me up. TimMurrayRealtor.com. IG's the same handle, Tim Murray Realtor. I'd love to show you around, help you out. Let's make money.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for coming to the Wise Agent Society's weekly real estate update, national news. We will see you next week. Tuesdays, we have our Sharpen the Saw calls at 11 Central a.m. And we have great guests every time. Who do we have next week, Tara?
On Tuesday, we have Leslie Neubauer with the Cedar Valley Habitat for Humanity. And then on Thursday for National Real Estate News, we have Patrick Adams.
That's Las Vegas. So join us all next week. We'll talk about all kinds of good real estate stuff. Until then, have a great day.